Great job, Brendan. Well, last block of the show here. Let's make it count. Our NFL panel is back. DK Live's Reed Fowler, Adam Mancuda of Phantom Sports, the Action Network's Joe Holka.
All right, over or under time, boys. So Ben Roethlisberger scoring 17 fantasy points against the Browns in Week 1. Will he go over or under 25 fantasy points this week at home in the rematch? Reed.
I'm going to say under here. Ben Roethlisberger can, and he can achieve this at some point. But look at the Cleveland defense. They've only allowed this, or teams or quarterbacks, opposing quarterbacks, have only achieved this twice. It's been Jameis Winston and Derek Carr, ironically, who's sort of been on the hot seat this past week. And Cleveland's defense really is set for the running back. So I do think this is a James Conner day more so than Ben Roethlisberger. He's only hit this a couple times against bad defenses, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, are those defenses that he's hit over this mark. So for that reason, I'm going to say under. I think it's more of a James Conner day.
Oh, we're going under. He's averaging 25. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, but I'll play the other side of this because I do think it is close. I'll say over. More of a pace of play type of thing, though. The Browns have faced the most opponent plays per game, so it's going to be a really fast-paced game. Pittsburgh's already 8th in plays per game, so I think they get a slight boost in plays. Yeah, Cleveland's been pretty tough through the air, second lowest catch rate in the NFL. It's definitely not a perfect situation, but I think you can kind of bet on volume and talent and pace in this situation.
Adam, he's only gotten over 25 twice this year. Is he going over or under?
I actually think he's going to go over, and I think the pace of play in this one's going to actually dictate why I think he's going over. Look, the Browns weren't the same offense Week 1 when they had Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback. They got Baker Mayfield out, as we know. He's obviously developing that rapport with Njoku and Landry. I think they're going to push the pace a little bit more. They're going to be scoring quicker, to me, against that Pittsburgh defense than under Tyrod Taylor. So that just gives Big Ben a little more opportunity to throw the ball down the field. And what I also think here is the comfort level for Ben in Week 1 versus Week 8 is going to be truly different. He now knows that James Conner is a solid tailback. We weren't really sure about how he was going to perform in that offense Week 1. So for me, I think for all those reasons, Ben's going to go over in what I think is actually going to be a pretty high scoring game where both teams could potentially get into the 30s because you've got to remember, Pittsburgh's defense, although they've been a little bit better, they're not that great. I like Mayfield in this matchup to put a point, so Ben on this other end will do so as well.
Well, how about for 7,300 here, guys? You can have Joe Mixon, and the Cincinnati running back is facing Tampa Bay, which is 6th in the league in rush defense. Can he rebound following a tough week against KC? Let's see, 8.1 DK fantasy points. Over or under 20 DK fantasy points here, Joe?
Under for me. You mentioned how good they are against the run. It's a pretty clear funnel spot towards the pass. Tampa Bay is 32nd against the pass. Normally you would be interested in a home favorite running back in this situation, but it's a really tough matchup for a guy. In this matchup, it's just near elite for defending the run, 5th fewest rush yards against, not really on Mixon at that price.
How do you feel about this one, Adam? He's averaging 16.5 fantasy points per game.
Yeah, I think this is too much for Mixon. I love him in terms of bouncing back this week, but I think 20 is just too high. I think that obviously with John Ross being out this week, obviously no Tyler Eifert anymore in the offense, and although Azuma scored last week, I think that Mixon will probably have 70, 80 yards, potentially a touchdown, but to go to 20, I just think this is not the week for that to happen.
Reed, where do you sit on this? Over or under 20 DK fantasy points for your boy Joe?
Yeah. I wouldn't say over here, actually. I disagree with the guys respectively, obviously. But look at Mixon. He's 14th amongst running backs in target share, and he's hit 20-plus DK fantasy points in 2 of 5 games. Look, he's been injured in those weeks that he hasn't, and he's had some down spots. But 75% of the snaps, Gio is still hurt. I know Mark Walton is coming in and vulturing some of those, but Mixon also gets carries in the red zone. He also gets targets. And so when I look at this and we talked about game script and game flow in that last question, I think this does favor Joe Mixon quite a bit. And really, when you look at his target share and you look at his usability, and now you look at the opposite side in Tampa Bay, yes, they're really good. Their opposing receivers do really well against Tampa Bay. You pass in Tampa Bay. Mixon is a guy who should be in there a lot. Look at those linebackers on the other side. Quan Alexander just went out with ACL. You have a Darius Taylor who's not that good necessarily in the middle, now calling the plays. They just signed Kevin Minter. So a lot of these guys on defense, both in the secondary and in the linebacking core, do scare me. So I think Mixon has a big game. I think he goes over 20.
Reed, feel free to disrespectfully disagree with these guys.
No, respect. Come on, Emerson. Grow up.
Wow,
Oh my God.
grow up.
You're
Tyreek
such a
Hill,
nice
guys.
guy.
Tyreek Hill had nearly 15 DK fantasy points against Denver in Week 4. Will he go over or under that mark when KC welcomes the Broncos to Arrowhead this weekend? His salary is up a lot from Week 7. So what are you going to do with this one, Adam?
Well, first, I want to get a cool segment name like the other guys did with the Hidden Jewels segment, right?
Yeah.
What about something like Get on the A Train or Make the Right Read or something like that? We got to do something here and make it a little spicy.
You guys just
He's
have
shaking
to
his head no. All right, thanks a lot, Reed, for your support. Now I'm going to respectfully disagree with your head
Thank you.
Keep grinding out here, and maybe you'll make it. We'll put in a good word for you.
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping, right? So I'm actually going to go over on Tyreek Hill. You got to remember, in that Broncos game, he had a ton of targets that night. He didn't do much in terms of yardage, but he did see the ball a lot. I think the game script is going to go for the Kansas City Chiefs much differently at home than on the road in Mile High. That was really the first time all season that Mahomes had any adversity at all, obviously facing that double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter. I like what I've seen from Hill the last couple weeks in terms of burning defenses deep. I just think he's in the prime spot to this week to go off and have a monster game at home in the rematch. I think the Broncos are a shell of that team. I think that really was the beginning of the end for the Broncos in terms of their hopes and their dreams for this season. You saw what Chad Kelly did. I mean, maybe he was really upset that they lost that game, and he just couldn't get over it. So for me, it's Tyreek Hill over this week.
Reed, he's $8,600. Is he going to get over or under 15?
Yeah, I think he's a huge enigma, right? Because he is one play away of hitting these absurd amount of DK fantasy points. But if you look at his recent matchups against Denver, Denver has played him well. But Adam's right. You look at that defense, it is a shell of what it formerly was. And now, yes, they had a big game against Arizona, but Arizona is one-dimensional, and they run the least amount of plays. And so you can have a big game against Arizona. I do think Tyreek Hill does go under just because of the ability to run against this Denver team. And I get it. He is a hybrid guy where he can run. He takes attempts out of the backfield, and he can also break off a big play. But I think Denver has his number. I think this is an under game for me. I think you attack Denver with the tight ends and the running backs. So I think Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, along with Mahomes, is a nice tri-stack there you can do. And Tyreek Hill is someone that I am fading because of that.
Joe, where do you sit on this one?
Over for me. One thing that you guys didn't touch on a ton is just how much Mahomes has been throwing deep. Number 1 in the entire league with 45 deep pass attempts. And this team is going by Denver, 26 in the league at defending deep passes. The matchup just sets up perfectly for Tyreek Hill. He is really expensive, but I think that he makes 15 points pretty easily. He can make it on one play. That's how crazy this guy is.
Wow.
Joe, if you had a segment, what would you name it?
God, I don't know. We have Tears of Joy in hockey. We got to get something like that for football.
Jamming with Joe.
Jamming with Joe, like Joe's Juggernauts?
Yeah.
Or, just Tears of Joe.
There you go.
I like that. Okay, and
Touché.
well, here we go, Joe. I'll let you take this one. Tight end George Kittle delivering 13.3 DK fantasy points to his owners the last time San Francisco faced Arizona. Does he go over or under 15 when these two clash on Sunday? Again, tight ends have not been very great fantasy-wise this year.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm going to say under 15 points, as you said, for some of these tight ends. It has to be a pretty good spot. I don't think this is a great spot against this Cardinals defense. They've allowed only 23 receptions to tight ends the entire year, 7th fewest DK points per game. I'm going to say under with Kittle.
Where are you going on this, Reed?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Joe here, Tears of Joe. I think when you look at what he's able to do, look, he is one of the only options in this offense. But in terms of what he's able to do, I think he's tied 7th for PPR points for the last 2 weeks. And so he had a big game, and that really contributes to a lot of where he's getting his production or where he's getting that total. And he's number 1 in target share for that same time frame, tied with Zach Ertz. Now you have to look at who's throwing in the ball. What are the quality of those targets? It's C.J. Beathard and it's Carson Wentz. And so when you have those two and you really are void of a run game and any outside threat, Marquise Goodwin is someone that you always have to pay attention to, but he's been banged up. Pierre Garçon is, again, a shell of what he usually was or is. I think it's going to be tough against that Arizona team who's only giving up 14 DK fantasy points or 13. So it is close, but again, you run in Arizona. You don't necessarily pass They have good coverage linebackers. I'm going to say under.
All right, so let's go all aboard the A train here. Over or under 15 DK fantasy points for George Kittle, buddy?
You already have a move, too, a signature move. I like
Yeah,
that.
I got the train.
He's
Let's
ready.
go. I'm going to respectfully disagree with both of my fellow gentlemen here, and I'm going to take a different read, pun intended, on this one. Reason being, look, Case Keenum looked like Joe Montana last week against that Arizona defense. So to me, why can't CJ Beathard? I've seen enough of Beathard over the last few weeks to just think that Kittle, because of that large target share, is going to find the end zone at some point this week. So for me, I'm going to take the risk, go out on a limb. The tight end position is very, very weak, as we know. While I wouldn't necessarily roster him, I'm going to go with a guy that I love, and I know Reed loves him, David Njoku, this week in most any format I could possibly get him. If you don't want to go that route, I'd go Kittle. I don't think it's a bad matchup as much as the other guys think. And for me, who else is he throwing to? As Reed mentioned, Goodwin's still banged up. Garcon's 104 years old. To me, Kittle's the safest option on that offense, especially with Breida now banged up as well. Only played a handful of snaps last week. So for me, I go with Kittle over 15.
Guys, quick question from Facebook for all of you. Reed, Arizona or Washington defense?
Ooh, Arizona's not bad. If you're going up against that San Francisco team, like we just talked about, right, you could easily get a couple picks here, a couple sacks there against CJ Beathard. So, I mean, I'm surprised that Adam didn't compare CJ Beathard to his boy Tom Brady, and he went Joe Montana. I appreciate that. But I'll go Arizona.
What do you think about this one, Adam?
Yeah, let's leave Brady out of this. No one compares to Brady, so stop. I'd agree with you and go with Arizona in this one. Two terrible offenses, two terrible teams. I would stay away from it, but Arizona if I had to choose between them or Washington this week.
Joe, you have to choose between Arizona or Washington. Who would you take?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that Washington has looked a lot better lately, but road defense, they are a slight favorite. Same thing with Arizona, so it's pretty close. I'll say Arizona just because they pressure a little bit better than Washington, but I do think Washington has looked a lot better the last couple of weeks.
Joe, Sean Newsham missed you tonight in the
Yeah, he
hockey
did.
segment. I just want you to know that.
He thinks
Yeah,
he scared
you
you
guys
off.
don't have to let him talk to you that way. You know that, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's fine. But
We didn't know
sometimes-
that, but thank you.
sometimes we prefer it
Now
that
we
way.
do know. We didn't know.
Okay, you three, enjoy your evening. Have fun. We'll see you back
Bye,
here,
Reed. It's always a
hopefully
pleasure.
tomorrow.
All
Yep,
right, bud.
yep. Please respectfully say goodbye to one another.
Yeah, very respectfully. This has been The Sweat. I'm Jesse Cofield. He's Emerson Latzia. We know you love to watch us on the internet, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
And the app.
The
you
app.
always forget the DK
I always
Live
forget
app.
the DK Live app. The DK Live app. So be sure to tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. We'll see you later.